You want to say something about these dodgy links people are getting as well? There we go. See? Told you. I don't know why Zoom brought that up a second time. Right, there's a fly there, and I'm going to spray it. If you can see me on YouTube, you can see me killing a fly. I'm going to arm myself with this for this whole call because they're in here again today.
I need to give you one of those Zappa tennis racket things.
Be more fun. I saw
Yeah.
in America, some American company sells these great big plastic like Uzis, but it's got something in it that
Oh,
kills flies,
Louise.
so you can go. That would be quite satisfying. Let's have a look. Can we see us? There we are. I can see us. And I can see everybody commenting. It takes a while for that to pop up on my YouTube, so you're all already here commenting. Can you see that, Tracy? It doesn't matter if you can't, because I can.
I
The
can't see.
YouTube comments on my channel.
I'm gonna. No, I can't see them unless I bring my iPad in. Shall
Oh,
I
well,
bring
don't
my?
worry about it. No, don't worry
Okay.
about it, because I can see them. Lovely to see everyone coming in. Jenny says, hi, Louise and Tracy. Jenny must be an art triber because we haven't introduced Tracy yet, but already. So nice to see you all piling in. We're a couple of minutes early, so we'll just let everybody get here. Monica loves the tennis racket fly swatters. Yeah, I must admit the spray's not very effective because by the time you get it and then by the time you press this, the fly's gone and then the spray just goes into the air where the
You
fly
spray
was.
that for an hour, you might pass out, and then
Yeah,
what's going
also
to
I might give myself cancer or something from fly spray.
happen?
Sometimes I spray it and then I realize I've just sprayed that all over my food. Now I have to throw my food away. Um, Kay Bevard says, do you ever use black background for creative demo work? I don't, but there's no reason why you couldn't.
Yeah.
I don't just because I don't know. I never have that background. Vanessa, this is interesting. Before we get started, I'm just waiting for it to get to 6 o'clock. But Vanessa says, loving the course so far. I did it last year too, but I'm in a different mindset this time and I can hear you better. That is so interesting because sometimes when people are panicking a bit, I read the comments and I feel like, okay, but did you hear anything I said? And perhaps not. Have you ever had that, Tracy, where you're just not
Totally.
hearing?
Yeah, totally. I think that's how I was. I actually went back and read Five Joy from the very start, and I think about all the things that I wasn't hearing. It wasn't getting through, and only after time does it like seep its way through, and you start to
Yeah.
get it.
Yes.
It's time. It's just time. I think that's why also we have people coming back every year for Find Your Joy, is because something else, another door opens each time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, hi, everybody. We're only a minute early, so I'm going to get started. I wanted to just spend a minute introducing today's guest because I keep forgetting to do that. And I assumed you knew the last two people because they were on the welcome call, but Tracy couldn't be with us on the welcome call. So, I want to explain to you who she is and why she's here. So, Tracy was a Find Your Joy student in what year, Tracy? Was it 2019?
Yep.
2019. So, the second time I did the course, I think Tracy was one of a group of a few hundred people on the course. And it was the first time it had really been formalized or done properly. And anyway, she was one of my star pupils and she made some really creative and amazing work. And at the time, she was a ceramicist and learning to paint. And so that's why she'd chosen my course. After the course ended, I set up Art Tribe, my membership site, which is like an artist community. And I very quickly realized I'd bitten off more than I could chew on my own. And I brought on Jamie to help me, who you met on the welcome call, my operations manager. And then I contacted Tracy and asked her if she would be our community manager. So Tracy's role in Art Tribe is to initially it was to manage the community and make it a welcoming place for everyone, but over time her role has expanded so that she now creates quite a lot of content for Art Tribe, manages artist interviews, edits videos for our members who are sharing their work. She basically is the she holds Art Tribe on her shoulders, and she's an amazing community manager. But the reason I asked her to be on this call with me is because she's not actually involved with Find Your Joy most of the time and with this creative reset. She's too busy with Art Tribe. In Art Tribe, she is helping Art Tribe members go through this, but she has a lot else to do. I asked her to be here because her experience coming out of Find Your Joy, she has built the most amazing art life for herself under some really challenging circumstances. She's a shining example of what you can do if you really do find your joy. And she also is very wise in a really different way to me. So she offers a really interesting perspective. So you will enjoy hearing from Tracy, and I'll try not to talk too much so that you get both of us. Is there anything I missed that you want people to know, Tracy?
No, I think you kind of gave me a glowing review. I should, perhaps shouldn't say nothing and leave it at that.
Okay, good.
Mm.
All right, everybody. There's a couple of things Tracy and I thought we'd chat about before we get to questions, things that I was really going through the Facebook group and looking at. And one of them is this comment from, this is from Melanie. I don't know if Melanie's on the call, but she posted this afternoon, and I thought Tracy and I could just chat about it a little bit. She says, I am sitting in my studio doing some collage work when I suddenly had this huge confidence drop, thinking to myself, who do you think you are doing this course? You are not an artist. Has anyone else felt like this? My confidence levels have crashed. So I really hope you're on the call, Melanie, because I did answer you in the group and I said, yes, me, I feel like that all the time. And I'm pretty sure any of the coaches would say they have those thoughts. Do you ever have those thoughts, Tracy? Not about
Absolutely.
this course, but about, what am
Yeah,
I doing?
absolutely. Absolutely. I think every artist has it, and it's just part for the course. I think it's because we push ourselves. We naturally want to just explore more. And in doing that, we push ourselves out of comfort zones all the time. And so we need to get comfortable with the uncomfortable in many ways.
Yeah, that's a brilliant description. Because I bet if you asked musicians or writers or actors or dancers, I bet they'd all say the same thing. I think it's any creative,
Hugely.
because you're going, what I said to Melanie, I think, is something like, we are setting off on a journey without a map and without any instructions. It's not like making a meal where you've got a recipe. We've got nothing. And then we're setting ourselves some, say she's working on her collage and she's saying, oh, I think I want to put some color in here now. I think I want to do this. And then you suddenly think, oh, I wonder if that's right or worthwhile, or even is there any point to what I'm doing? Or one of the things that comes up a lot for me, because my art is a lot about what's inside my own head, what comes up a lot is like, why does anyone care? Like, this is just your shit. Why does anyone
Yeah.
else care?
Yeah.
You know, you're not
Yeah.
you're not making political art. You're not saying anything
Yeah.
important. Maybe it's just all self-indulgent nonsense that shouldn't exist in the world.
I think that what you say there is quite interesting because we're actually saying then that no one else wants it. And often we get into this, I don't know, it's this mantra in our head that we whatever we make, we must sell.
Hmm.
And that becomes this place where it blocks you completely because then you're not making art actually, you're making a commercial product for sale.
Hmm.
And a lot of the time, those are the things that get in your way. And that's why a lot of artists who are successfully selling their work become blocked or find it very difficult to access how they've changed and how they've evolved, because we do change. Every single day we shed skin, we whatever, we get new inspirations in. And so we do evolve and we do change, and our art must morph with us. It's
Yeah.
just trusting that. that process and not getting so hung up on that end result of it trying to be good. There was a quote that I read in my book from a few years back. I said something about celebrating the process, not just the polished result, because when we stop trying to be good, we start becoming true. And
Yes.
I did this. I found that when I moved to England, I've only been here 3 years, I was trying to find a new market, right? So I didn't have my normal peeps who were buying my work. And so I went into a whole new environment with open studios. It was wonderful. There was so many opportunities and there's new people coming into my studio wanting to know my story and whatever. And it totally blocked me because now it wasn't my work yet. I hadn't had time to absorb what England was going to give me. What are the gifts that are around me?
Hmm.
And so I've actually had to stop. And for this whole year, I've sent myself to university. And this university is actually a creative play process where it's been about whatever curiosity comes my way, I go there. And so it's taken that pressure off. I'm fortunate in that obviously I don't depend on selling my work to pay the bills. But it's been so good for me. This year has been the best gift I think I could have ever given myself.
And one of the things, as well as the pressure to sell, I used to have, and it still pops up sometimes, these thoughts about the art world. Like, would the art world consider this
Yes.
valid? Like, who the hell knows? And who the hell cares, really? What is the art world? There's so many different types of art world, but I definitely have that feeling. And again, and even if your thought is, will my husband think this is valid? Will my sister think this is valid? Will my friends in the art club think this is valid? Any of
Is this,
that?
yeah, and is this like the work I'm usually do? Huh?
Yeah,
Is this, could this hang in the RA summer exhibition with all those other people?
yeah. And you see
Uh,
this big one behind me here. I propped this up behind me for a reason that this is bloody annoying me. And the reason is there was something I was going for, and that is the muted, toned down, tame, trying to still be like my old work version of that. And no, it's been spending its days turned the other way around the last few days because I got sick of seeing it. But I've turning it back around to face myself with what I've done. And then today I had a breakthrough on something which the people who go on to Find Your Joy, you're actually going to see because I was filming a demo and this demo turned into a massive breakthrough of actually doing what I've always wanted to do. And but the reason it did was I was no longer trying to do that. And even though I'm the one who comes on here and says, don't try, trying can be very insidious. It's not always as obvious as us walking in and saying to ourselves, right, I'm going to make a great painting. It's more these little voices in our head which are controlling what we're doing. But the breakthrough painting is like wild and a little bit ugly and a little bit raw and a little bit scary to look at. And that is what I want more of. So today I got a vision of how that's going to be. But then I had this thought of, yeah, but what's the point of that? Who's going to be interested? No one's going to be interested in that. And are people just going to think you can't paint because you made all those big dauby marks? They're just going to think you don't know what you're doing. So I mentioned that to say, I don't think that ever goes away. It doesn't upset me anymore. I just hear it in the background, like me, 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 me,
mm.
me. And then I just carry on, but it's there.
You know, there's something you said there, though, but look at that painting. That painting behind you was your teacher because
Mhm.
that painting, you listened to it. You actually, when we were talking about listening earlier, is you listen to what
Good
that
point.
painting
Yeah.
is doing. And
Yeah.
so
Good point.
without that painting sitting there, silently looking at you like some bland
Yeah,
kind of
going, I'm
whatever
crap.
mush, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever it's doing there. That painting has taught you so much, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've listened to it. And now you can move forward because now you actually did move forward because you went in a different direction. Now you can come back to that, whether you
And
go,
that is such a good point. Everybody, think about that for a second. If I looked at that and just had a meltdown and then said, you know what, I shouldn't even be doing this. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe put that on the bonfire, had a temper tantrum, smashed it up or whatever, and then didn't come back in here for months because I just think I don't know what I'm doing.
"Mm,
You're right. Then I'm not listening to it. Instead, I'm just pushing it away and saying, I have no talent. I'll never be able to do what I want to do. And even though I had that breakthrough today, absolutely guaranteed that that problem's going to come up again because these problems return. We have to keep like overcoming them if there's something ingrained in us, and gradually we overcome them. So you have to get tough skinned. You have to listen, and also you have to
yeah,
be a bit tough.
you have to be, I think you have to trust yourself. You have to trust that and have that confidence because you could have got stuck on that painting, like you say.
Mm,
You could have actually fallen to pieces and not come back in your studio because that painting looks at you every time you came into the studio, right? I mean,
yeah.
I have a couple of those.
Yeah.
I've turned them around as well.
Yeah.
And but those are kind of like got stuck me in that place because I was just in that place. And they don't want I don't need to go back to them. Maybe they will full circle, I'll come back to them because I'm seeing it already happening in my collage practice that I do. And I'm seeing that there's a release in the tightness of what those paintings are. And they keep telling me I'm too tight, I'm too much like coloring in. And I know that I'll come back to them when I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, that's the other thing. We have to be like in that frame of mind. I was trying to think what to do for my demo today, and I thought, oh, I think I'm ready to tackle that thing this other thing that's been bothering me. And so I got this old painting out, and I was ready, but it's been there for 6 months. I haven't been ready to deal with this other problem. Um, that brings us nicely round to this idea of the ugly painting or the bad painting. And if you're confused why people are calling them two things, people who've been on this course before, this is the one thing. I even changed this year because I asked you to do several, but it's the thing we've done consistently. I think it's really important. And we used to call it ugly, but that kept getting blocked in email filters and on Facebook. So we changed it to bad painting, but everyone's remembering it used to be ugly painting. So if you're confused, that's why. But the conversations I've seen around that in the Facebook group, first of all, you're all brilliant because you've just dived into it. And usually we get loads of resistance and loads of people complaining about doing it, which is fine. But this year it's like, nope, we're going to go for it. We're all just going to do what she said. And I love it because what I noticed going through the Facebook group today was I just kept saying, wow, wow. There was just so many good paintings. Not that people were trying to make good paintings. They were definitely going for the ugly and getting in the spirit of it. But the energy and life and excitement in some of them, that you could feel that person's freedom in the mess that they'd made. But then what that person would say in their post is, well, this is definitely horrible. This is going on the bonfire, or I'm going to cover this up. And I want to say to you all that one of the reasons for doing that exercise is that what you don't like and what you find ugly is just as personal and unique as what you do like. And when you look at everyone else's bad paintings, you'll see that they all approached it in a different way than you. And so it's another clue. And even in the ugliness, there was energy and life and power because you were putting yourself into it instead of your false self. Your false self is the one that pretties it up and tidies it up, or not necessarily false, but your social, outward facing self, the one you show to the world, the one that is capable and competent and does a good job. And then you dropped all that because I asked you to do a bad job. And suddenly there was all this energy in them. Do you remember doing this, Tracy? Did you have this
Yeah.
experience? Did we do
Yeah.
this when you did it?
Yeah, I do. And then I actually did that 100-day project when I did the selfies, and I took it further into 100 days. And I also, I would say the first 10 days in was totally self-critical. It was looking at every line and every mark and every sag and bag.
You're thinking of self-portraits now, right?
Yeah,
Sorry,
self-portraits.
I was saying about the bad paintings from
Oh, the
today.
bad paintings.
But
Oh, the
it's
bad
okay.
paintings. Sorry.
Talk, no, talk
Because I
about
did a bad, because I did a portrait today with the bad paintings. So I
talk
did a,
talk about the self-portrait. Go on. Sorry, anyway, yeah.
sorry, my brain was elsewhere.
That's okay.
But um, I think after a while, you start to embrace it and you start to see what the paint does. So
Mm.
you take it out of this ego place and you put it in a place where it becomes a more creative expression. And that becomes about mark making and about how you can do this in a more interesting way. And that's when you kind of tapping into a creative flow as opposed to coming from an ego based process. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's where I think the more you do this kind of thing, the easier it is to tap into that. It's like anything, it's practicing. It's you talk about, I think with Anne, you spoke about that muscle, exercising that muscle. And I think that's exactly what it is. It's that creative muscle that goes away from ego and allows you to just explore your materials. And so you become actually, it like talks from right deep inside. I loved those ugly things. I look horrendous and I wanted to make myself look horrendous. I wanted to actually, I mean, Jenny Sav, is it Jenny Saville? What is
Yeah.
her name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where she
With the
does those paintings.
big,
She's, yeah, big. She's not big at all. And, but
yeah.
that's her perception of herself.
Yeah.
So she's exploring that whole theme in her work. I mean, obviously, we don't need to be going that deep in these
Yeah.
things that we're doing,
Yeah.
but I think that that's an explanation of it. It's like an example of it is how she taps into that.
There
Um,
was a lot of what you're saying is that the honesty and the expressiveness of that kind of work is really exciting. In the
mm,
group, there were some people who were feeling like, oh, these aren't accurate. I've got, I want to be more accurate. There were a few people saying, I've found a good way of doing blind drawings is to like center yourself on the page and make sure you get the eyes in the right place first and then but I like it when the eyes are in the wrong place. My favorite ones that people did was so wonky and wrong.
mm,
And wrong, but not wrong. They were exciting and interesting, whereas the more accurate ones are a bit dead and lifeless. Okay, it's a drawing of your face. That's fine. But what about and like with to what you said, my mum always says when I do self-portraits, why don't you make yourself look a bit prettier?
yeah,
It's like,
no,
because
Stuart does
that's
that
not
to
the
me.
point.
Yeah, Stuart does that to me. He always says, "It's funny how you see yourself like that. I don't see you like that at all. It's not the point.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
not
the
the
point.
point. This is
It's not the point.
art and
I'm
it's
busy
about the
breaking down
art.
barriers here. I'm
Yeah,
breaking down barriers."
exactly. So let's have a so all I wanted to say, yeah, so what we want to say about this is try to take away beauty and accuracy and rightness. Try to see that as only one aspect of how you might judge art, that there might be many other qualities in your artwork that are valuable. And I want to very briefly, let me just pull up and share. I'm going to go into, give me a sec. I'll go into images on the Facebook page, which I should have done before you came on, but I was busy planning out the questions. We go to media, and then I'm going to share my screen with everybody. Oh, we don't want that. We want that. Share. You should see how many things I've got open at the moment that are now, when I open this, some of what you see will be different assignments because people are on a different schedules, obviously. But I want you to just look for what look to be what people have deemed as ugly paintings. This person's used green and red and these big strokes and blotches. This person's chosen like grays and different kind of marks. This person, these are probably self portraits. This person's done florals, but with these murky colors. I love this.
Mm.
This person, theirs looks like this. And that's someone's. And then we've got this, then we've got this, then we've got this. And if we keep scrolling down, we just see so many different approaches to what it means to make a bad painting. And so many of them are exciting or interesting or cool. Like, look at this. I love it. And and of course the portraits, but we talked about those. These are wonderful. Like, is that really bad? Is or can you see some value in that? And a few people commented on this in the Facebook group. Like, look at this. This person's discovered scratching through dark paint to get like through to these bright colors underneath. I don't see that as bad.
Cool.
See it as interesting. But someone commented in the group today, how come I look at people's paintings, love these. I look at people's ugly, bad paintings and I just see beauty and excitement and courage. And that's what I see as well. And I hope that for many of you, you can keep these paintings. Don't paint over them. Don't scrap them yet. Keep them as part of your journey. Photograph them if you must paint over them. Photograph them and put them in your studio journals, because there are clues for you in what you did just as much in what you think is bad. Love these. Could see that on a massive scale in MoMA.
In
Don't you
all
think?
these, you can see that creativity's come out to play. It's like
Yes.
it's been let out the bag.
Yeah. It's like
Mm,
all of a sudden,
mm,
freedom. Everyone went
mm,
running amok. If we were all
mm.
in a room together, it'd be like a bunch of children all running around, probably with too much sugar.
Yeah, we
But
need to do more of that, you know. I think we can tie ourselves up and become quite anal sometimes.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we take ourselves
Too
often
seriously.
very seriously.
Mm,
Like I always say to people, I take my art like really seriously, and I also try to take it really lightly. Like I
mm,
take it really seriously in that I try to always put my best effort in, and I have
mm.
ideas and I'm trying to, do something with my artwork, but it's also it's not life and death, and we're not that important, and we get very, like you said earlier, egotistical. And even the worrying about how we look in a portrait, it's all ego. It's all like, let me just make myself look good. Let me not look good. Let me make sure that I'm presenting the best face, or I don't like how I look. Or we all have those thoughts, but we don't have to have them. We can free ourselves of that over time. So
I think it's that balance, Louise, isn't it? It's that balance of being serious but not being serious, not taking ourselves so seriously.
Patricia says, Tracy just mentioned being tight and controlled as a bad thing. If being tight and controlled makes me happy, am I doomed to make bad art, or should I even care about
Oh
that?
no, I'm very tight and controlled when I work. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's your personality. I think it's my personality too. I'm quite tight and constricted, and I work quite small. Um, and I find that it's me. I
Yeah.
don't mean it in that sense that tight and controlled is bad. I mean in the sense of um, allowing your creativity and your form of expression not to be so tight and controlled.
Yes.
But
And
if you, does
so
that make
it's
sense?
Yeah, it does totally. So if you're happy, so you said that makes you happy. I think Heather said that on the first call as well, that she
Mm,
works very slowly and carefully.
mm,
If that brings you joy and you are excited when you're doing that stuff and you're feeling great,
mm,
that's your style and that's perfect. For me, the tight and controlled in this one was exactly the opposite of what I was aiming for.
mm.
So it was annoying me. So it's for a lot of people, that tightness is stopping them from experiencing any creative freedom. If in your creative freedom you choose controlled, then that is just as valid as anyone else's expression.
If I could explain it like this in the context of a ballet dancer, when a ballet dancer makes a move and a ballet dancer moves with the music and with grace into a pirouette, you can actually see that flow going. Like a golfer, when a golfer hits a club, if they're in that flow, that ball is going to go in a beautiful direction and probably get a hole in one. A
Mm-hmm.
dancer is the same thing. From the moment a dancer lifts herself and into that pirouette shape, that's her flow. And I
Yeah.
think that's what we're aiming for as artists is to be in our, when we talk about being in flow. So whether our flow is in that execution of something that's maybe quite linear and quite structured, it's the same thing as Louise being more free with her brushstrokes,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think.
exactly. P. Van Horn says, do you know how to include our unconscious mind in a painting? So we're getting a bit away from the course here, but I'll try briefly to explain because this relates to what I was saying about this painting behind me. So I want to get my unconscious out onto a panel, right? So the only way to do that is to follow what my intuition is telling me to do. Pick up that charcoal, get some yellow, put that down, but not to think, balance the composition, make that color match with that color, do blend that paint because it's looking a bit ugly. If I'm trying to get into my unconscious, I have to literally stop thinking and just do, and then whatever I do is some access to unconscious. Doesn't mean you're going to like the way it looks, but it's the not thinking. And that is a real challenge. And that is the challenge I've been working on for the last probably year now, maybe longer in other series in different ways. And I'll probably be working on it until I'm not here anymore. So it's not something that anyone else can tell you how to do. That is your job now to figure out. But the kind of exercises that I'm beginning to introduce you to in this free course, this is what you need. You need to be unencumbered by any, you're already thinking of the result when you say that. So you need to get away from that and allow yourself to let your creativity run wild and then start finding your way towards what that might be. I'm gonna look for another question. If making a bad painting felt joyful and easy, am I just avoiding the harder, more detailed work? Says Nora. What do you think, Tracy?
Can you read that again?
If making a bad painting felt joyful and easy, am I just avoiding the harder, more detailed work?
Sure, it's such an interesting question. You know, the harder work is probably what you were talking about, and this last thing that you were talking about is that understanding things like your materials, your composition, the way your eye moves through your painting, and all that um, stuff that makes a good painting or makes your painting you. Once you've done all that, then you find that freedom of expression, don't you? So I
Yeah.
think it's like going through those little cycles of everything seeping in. So I think that that freedom that you've experienced now is something you hold on to and that you use. I think it's Irene who talks about putting in a backpack. You put it in the backpack and you take it with you. So that's a feeling that you've experienced, that freedom of expression. You know you can do that and you know what it does for you and what it feels inside.
And
And
if it
then,
feels joyful, by the
yeah,
way, you should be
yeah,
doing more of it.
yeah.
Shouldn't
And
be
you take
going looking for something else to do that's harder. The
mm,
thing that we should be doing in our artwork that we're meant to do, should be is the wrong word. The thing we're meant to do feels great. So when Tracy's being controlled and analytical and planned in her work, and she's in flow and it feels great and it feels natural, she's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
When I try to do that, like if I try to do accurate drawing now, it just does my head in. I don't have the patience anymore. I used to love it, but
Mm.
it just doesn't make me happy. So then if I made it that I have to do the hard work of being good at drawing still, I have to keep my drawing skills up, I'd eventually just give up on art because it's horrible and I don't enjoy it. So we've got to do the thing that feels great because then we'll keep wanting to do it. And that comes to Lee, so Tracy Lee is struggling to go to her studio. I have great intentions to go to my studio, but I find everything else to do first. I believe there's something blocking me. It was the same when I was a potter. Somebody I know always says we only procrastinate about things we either don't think we can do or we don't know how to start. Like, so I procrastinate my taxes and my accounts
Mm.
because I hate them and I don't really know how to do it very well and I don't have a great system and it's just an annoying thing that takes up time. But I never procrastinate coming in here because this is fun. This is the thing I try and get to do. If you're procrastinating, something is going on up here that's making this not the most fun thing, or you don't believe you're allowed to put the fun thing first. You believe you should do everything else.
Or it's become like a big deal that you need a result,
Yeah.
that you need a result, and that if you go in there, you need to create something of worth, or maybe that. So I think that those are the kind of things to keep being honest with yourself and journaling on, because I think it's like we all are our own teachers. We all know ourselves better than anyone else, and writing it down and just keep writing, or just keep thinking. Writing is quite good because it gets it out of you. Thinking goes round and round and round in your head.
Yeah.
Whenever I've got something like that, I sit and write, and it's like unconscious writing, like a morning pages, because it does out itself. It's there. You do know the answer to it. Like, okay, so this is it. Why is this? If I'm going, maybe it's because the clay that I'm using is not right. Maybe it's because it's too cold. Maybe it's because the studio doesn't look nice. Maybe it's because, I should be producing something of worth. You'll find the answers for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Dee Dee asks, what do you both do? I've become really stuck. What do you both do when you're very shut down? Sometimes I'm not in a creative phase. Sometimes I don't paint very much. Do you find that,
Yeah, I
Tracy?
think you and I, because we do creative stuff for our job, it takes up that creative portion. And all we
Mm,
want to do is go do something that's maybe not creative, or that's creative in a different way.
yeah.
And so I know that I'm in my studio in fits and starts, because the work that I'm doing is creative during the day with Art Tribe and with all the other work I do. So fits and starts for me, the way that I have entry into my studio always is at the moment through collage. I
Mm,
do I do a collage session where I tear out of magazines and do collage. And that means I don't have to go into the studio and set up everything. I can just literally have 20 minutes and pack it away and carry on with what else I was doing.
yeah, I
That's my
sometimes
entry
do
thing.
collage. Yeah. Sometimes I do collage. I do a lot in sketchbooks, or I do a version of the taped off exercise that you did.
Hmm.
And then I cut them into small pieces and then I play with them, just trying to make them into something I like, or, seeing what I can experiment with on them. I just play if I'm feeling like I need to get back in there. But sometimes there'll be a few months where I can tell I'm just not feeling it. And if I try and force it, it's not going to happen. So there's no point.
Yeah,
I think
totally.
being creative is as much about the time that we fill back up again as the time. It's not for everyone. So, like Susan, Coach Susan, who you'll meet if, well, you met on the welcome call and you'll meet on the last call. And you might meet her on one of these, I don't know. But Susan works every day and she never runs out of creativity and she just draws, draws, draws. That's some people are like that, but I'm more like this really creative times where I'll make loads of paintings and then really dead times where it might go 6 months without making anything.
Yeah. We're all so different, aren't we? I mean, I used to, when I was a potter, I was in my studio at 7 in the morning and I wouldn't get out of there until 8 at night. I spent my entire day in there. Now it's completely different. So
Yeah.
it just depends where you are in your life
Yeah, and
and
you've got a lot on, so you haven't got a lot of time for that now.
no.
Catherine says, "Are deliberately painting ugly? I'm calling them failures. If I'm loving it so much, am I missing something? No." And Catherine, what happened to me today in this demo that I did, I thought, right, it wasn't a demo about making a bad painting, but I thought I'm going to use the bad painting exercise to do this demo. I'm going to say, right, I'm just going to paint a bad painting on here. And the freedom of that made me paint something I absolutely love so much that in the video I made, I'm doing a little dance. I'm like, I'm so happy. I even hugged it and said, I love you, because it's just finally, the release of, okay, it's going to be bad made it exactly what I wanted it to be. So there's nothing wrong with you. And anybody whose question in here is anything about, is there something wrong with me? Am I getting this wrong? Don't even ask it, because whatever it is that you're doing, you're not getting it wrong.
Yeah, even I found myself when I was doing the three messy paintings or bad paintings or ugly paintings. Like, is it okay if I
Yeah.
was, come on, girl. Of course it's okay. You can do it. It's nothing set in stone. And this is just an exercise. It's just an exercise. Tomorrow there'll be something else.
Yeah.
It's just for today. This is not a lifelong commitment.
I
It's
once
just an exercise for today.
I once did a bad painting. The reason I got this idea for this exercise was years ago. I was teaching for free in about 2018. Someone asked, how can I be free with paint? And I said, I'll make you a quick YouTube video. And it's still on YouTube, I think, one of my first videos. I made this. I thought, right, I'll just make something really bad. So I said, right, you just get some paint and you just do this. And I splashed some paint around. After I finished the video, I thought, I quite like this. I made a few more brush marks and I called it done, but I thought no one else will like this. I had an art critique with a respected mentor, and every single one of the paintings I showed to him, he was like it was clear he wasn't very impressed, and he was just like telling me what was wrong with them. And then the last one was that one because something in me loved it, even though I knew it was all wrong in every way of composition, everything was wrong. And when that one came up, he went, now this is interesting. Tell me about this one. And that was my big lesson of, wow. So I wasn't even trying, and so a lot of times when we're making that bad painting, we're actually making something really exciting. And a lot of people saw that in the work they saw other people making. They didn't necessarily see it in their own, but they saw it in other people's. Great question from Amruta. Intuition keeps changing. So do we keep working on a painting we have done? So if you're working intuitively, I find this is a struggle and everyone works this out for themselves. If I want to paint my emotions intuitively, I might have to finish that in one day because by the time I come back tomorrow, I'm a different person. So either I finish it in one day or I build up layers and then one day I decide that emotion is the one that's going to be the one because I like the way it looks. But that is a challenge for anyone who works that way because we do change.
Mm.
Might be quite nice. It's quite nice to build up the layers and now it's a story of all it's that push and pull of all your feelings. Every one of these questions, you could find an artist working who's making work that goes in galleries, who's on YouTube doing a documentary about their life, telling you exactly why they work in exactly that way. Heather said I emailed you my question. I'm sorry, Heather. We can't go through questions in advance. There's just too many emails. You should see the emails. We are working our way through them, but we can't find questions in
Mm.
there. Someone commented on my painting, says Joanna. I think they were accusing me of making something good. I brushed it off. To me, it was terrible. So, yeah, sometimes people might look and say, you can't really have thought that was horrible because
Mm.
they love it, and that is art subjective, right? You did think it was, you did think you'd made something bad, but I've commented on so many paintings today. I've said, do you see how much life and energy there is in this? Do you see the beauty in this? Maybe people think I'm blowing smoke when I say that. Maybe they think I'm just trying to rah rah everyone along, but I'm not. I see the beauty in something that you think is ugly, and that's just the way the world is, isn't it? Jan, I'm 68. Do you think I have time to find out what I like after always putting family and others first? Jan, I want you to go onto Amazon right now and look for a book by Jerry Saltz, Saltz, called How to Be an Artist. It's brilliant. It's a small book, really easy to read. And in that book, and it's really good life advice for artists. And in that book, he said something about this, talking about people saying they're too old. And he said something along the lines of what I usually say, which is, are you dead? If you're not dead, you're not too old. Like, why would you say, why would anyone say, and I'm not picking on you, Jan, because lots of people say this, but why would anyone say, oh, it's too late for me now, and then live out another 30 years maybe of not doing what you want when you've got that time now to, and we're lucky when some of us when we're older have more time to dedicate to it and more wisdom. And he says in his book, you have so much more life experience, so much more to bring to art than a 21-year-old coming out of art school. So bring all that now into your artwork.
It's amazing how many artists, when you look at their biography stories, started at
Yep.
70, 80. So many of them.
What's the name of the artist to look up, everybody? Is Rose Wiley. Wylie. I can hardly listen to her because she's so posh that she's even posher than the royal family. Her voice is ridiculous, but it's not her fault. She's a
I've got to
very
listen
nice
to her
lady.
now.
She's a very nice lady, and she paints these very naive, massive, crazy canvases. She's very old. I don't know, maybe 90 or something now, but she was discovered really late, like in her 70s, I think. And only now is she having gallery shows and things. And she's got just so much work that she's gathered over the years because she was doing it for herself. And her work is really, a lot of people won't like it. You know, it's really abstract and really crazy and not at all what you would expect this demure, posh little old lady to be making.
It's
It's
amazing.
brilliant, you know, in that way. So,
It's also like on the other side of the spectrum, there's old Grandma Moses. I mean, she started painting those paintings about her. They not abstract at all. They are representational, little, almost like what's the English guy who paints those figures, famous English painter.
Lowry.
Lowry. They're almost like a Lowry's. And Grandma Moses, I mean, you must see her paintings too. And she started what I think she was in her late 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. So you
It,
are not too late,
we
Jan,
are definitely not too late.
but
Not,
you did say I'm always putting family and others first.
yeah.
So that is your challenge is are you going to put yourself first now? You said you're grieving, so I'm really sorry to hear that. For me, my art is a real solace in difficult times, and I process a lot of my emotions through making bad paintings, sketchbook things, stuff I don't want anyone else to see, just getting emotions out of my body into paint. But you do, I am quite selfish about my time, and you do have to decide, are you going to be a bit more selfish? You don't have to be as selfish as me, maybe, but I was listening to Tracy Emin talking, as I often do, and she was saying, I decided not to be a mother because I know I couldn't be a mother and an artist to the level I wanted to be, because I would want to be a good mother and that would take up too much energy. We don't have to quite make that dramatic a decision, but do you always have to put, especially grown children, ahead of yourself?
I think that, you actually, when you're happy, everyone else around you is happy. So I think often we think that we should sacrifice what we love for others, but actually we become better people when we do stuff for ourselves as well. And everyone else around you will appreciate that more.
Everybody benefits when you're happier.
Mm.
When I did used to put other people first all the time, I'll tell you what I was: resentful, unpleasant, snippy. Well, nobody's grateful for the things I do for everybody else.
I'm glad I didn't know you then.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't have got that because you wouldn't have seen that side of me. But yeah, snippy, resentful, because I was giving up myself to give other people things. That's no way to live. So
No.
maybe Jan's not as mean as me, but maybe she keeps it all inside. But it goes somewhere when we're not putting ourselves first. There was a good question here I saw. Yeah, Judy, how do you know there is life and energy in a painting? I heard another artist speaking the other day. I can't remember his name. It's a podcast I was listening to. But anyway, he said, I'm not interested in a painting unless I can see there's been some struggle in it. And I just thought that was such a brilliant way to describe what he meant. Was there's often art that's very surface, like this person knows how to put colors and shapes together to make something pleasing and they've just done it. And there's nothing else to it. I wouldn't quite describe it as struggle, but it's the feeling that the artist is in it all the way. Like recently, Tracy did a series of videos for Art Tribe where she was working with a jelly plate, which is a kind of printing, and she was trying to get this image of her mom, a young image of her mom, and then do different images with it on the printing plate. And she was struggling with it. Like she tried one thing, then that didn't work. Okay, I'll try this. And then you were getting all these different versions of it. That's, I think, what he meant. Like, I want to feel like this person was in it while they were doing it. And I can tell you that I can scroll through the Facebook group and I can tell who just went ugly painting. Okay, I'll put some brown on and then just say that's an ugly painting because I don't like doing this. There's none of you in it versus the ones who made something, then maybe it got too good and they covered it up, then they did something else, they were having fun. So I don't know how to describe how but you just can see it if there's life and energy in it versus if it's dead. And it doesn't mean that it's crazy like Jackson Pollock flinging paint around. It might be, but it might just be a still life, but it kind of comes at you off the surface. It's exciting to look at versus just being skillful. I think that's what I would say. And by the way, not everyone judges art this way.
Mm.
So you could find someone who would say, I'm only interested in, I think somebody in the group early on was very cross and posted that everything I was saying was wrong because you should learn to paint hyper realistically and be very careful. And that person's entitled to that perspective for sure. This is just my perspective and we're in my class, so we're doing it my way. But I do believe if you are in a gallery and you're looking at artworks and you're saying, I don't understand why this one's in here, I don't understand why this person, you're looking at it looks a bit messy or you don't get it. I guarantee it's because they're struggling it. And that person is fully in their art, always thinking about it, always like trying to take it somewhere else. That's what I mean by it. I don't know if that's helpful. It's a very hard thing to put into life. Chris says, oh my God, 100 days of selfies. I did 365 days once. So we're both suckers for punishment. I was fed up of it by the end.
I eventually introduced my cat into the selfies with me just to just because I was so bored of myself.
A great question from Kit. Would you address maturing into our art and what we are reaching for? So, this for me and how I've done it and how I've helped other people do it is it comes down to what I'm focusing you on in this course, which is choosing, just choosing, constantly learning. I don't like that. I do like that. I don't like that. I do like that. I'm going to do more of that, less of that, more of that, less of that. And and sometimes we get to a point where I got to recently where we've chosen, but we're not able to execute what we chose. So I've chosen energetic, rough marks and I've made something blended and gentle. Like we sometimes get to that and then we have to push ourselves to that next thing we want. What would you say anything different than that, Tracy?
I like this thing about choosing is such a big thing. I know that now that I'm doing up this property and I'm renovating, I'm finding that because I've been choosing in my art, and I know that I like patterning, and I know that I like calm spaces, and I know that I like the colors that I like. It is it is making my choices so pleasurable
Mm,
and so much less of a wrestle that I'm actually doing my home, this renovation, much like I'm creating art. The two, the life and my art, has come together in this project. And I'm just loving it. And I can see everything that I put into my decor and my thing is all about what I've been choosing in my art. So it filters through in so many things that it becomes this full bodied life. And I just love that. I love that my art is teaching me stuff now.
yes. Yes.
Mm.
Because you can't do it in one place and not in the other.
You
So
can't.
you start changing in life, or if you change in life, your art has to change. Like
Yeah.
they go hand in hand all the time. The ugly gives it energy. That was what I found remarkable, says Nicola. It came alive. And I think it's because you're not trying, the bit of you that is dishonest, and I mean that in the nicest way, but the bit of you that pretties up and tidies up and makes it presentable was put away so some pure energy could just flow through. It doesn't mean you have to make paintings that look like that all the time. You want some refinement as well, to some extent or another, but it does mean that that's why you see the life in them, because you would just taken out your
Yeah, because
acceptable side.
also when you do something like that in that exercise, you're using a different tool, you're using a different color that you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
And in that way, it's like you've shaken it up. You've added something into the mix that has maybe now thrust you onto the next thing. So when you go back to your painting tomorrow, there'll be some kind of memory of that, and you might borrow something of that into the next one. I smushed over the paint in the end over my portraits, and then I got a wet rag and I washed that color back and then dried it, scraped it back, and it gave me the most amazing effect I'd never would have thought to have done. And that was just from doing that
Yeah.
ugly exercise.
Quite a few people asking what is the 100-day challenge. Honestly, it would be easier just to put it into Google and you'll find lots about it. Because if we start going off onto other things on here, it just takes up time. Joanna asking, I want to make a whole wall as a false wall for painting. This behind me is made out of plywood, thick plywood. That's what I use and then put screws in it. Right, let's get back to course questions. Once we have learned from a failed painting, should we keep it or is it better to throw it away? I like keeping my stuff for a while till I've learned everything from it, but it's totally up to you. Jenny says, do you paint every day? We've answered that, haven't we? If financial circumstances change, do you consider it better to get a job and keep art as a hobby for your own fulfillment? or try and sell your art. That's way be out of my pay grade for this free course to answer business questions. I think that's personal to everyone. It's very hard to make a living selling artwork. It's not impossible. And I've just been following a YouTube channel. Go on YouTube and look up selling art to find people telling you how to do it. If you're watching a YouTube channel of a guy who has none of this wrestling with the quality of his art, he just makes stuff. Not it's not to my taste, but he's making $200,000 a year from selling art, and he makes a series of videos where he gives you lots of brilliant ideas. I was like, oh my God, never thought of that, never thought of that. Lots of great ways. So it's totally possible, but you have to be a marketing and salesperson if you want to do that. So I always knew I wanted to make my money from something else so that I could be creative and free to be creative, but you might feel differently. There's all sorts of ways to do this. Oh, I'm not going to answer. I'm going to try and just answer things that are on the free course at the moment, because otherwise we'd have too many questions. Sashka says, isn't ugly painting just as valid as pretty paintings? We don't always want to express pretty, lovely, positive, joyful. Sometimes things have to be ugly to express what you want to. Exactly. Exactly. That is what I'm moving more towards in my own art. And that is mentally quite hard because my tendency is to make things nice. But as Tracy was saying about art moving into life, as I've started to paint more that way, I've started to be less of a people pleaser in my life. It's quite interesting that I've stopped being quite so amenable to everybody once I start being less pretty in my paintings. So yeah, absolutely. And there's lots of artwork. If you go around a modern art gallery, you find very few contemporary art pieces that are in there for their aesthetic qualities. They're usually in there for the idea or for the emotion or something. Oh, sorry, subtitles on my end. My apologies. Forgot. I've only just got down to that comment. I apologize. I'm going to try and my husband is an accomplished artist, musician, and editor. I'm nervous when he sees my work because I'm a beginner. He is supportive, but how do I conquer my hesitance to show him what I'm doing? He sounds like if he's supportive, Cindy, maybe you could just have a chat with him about it and say, this is how I'm feeling about showing you things because I'm a beginner and I'm also on this journey to express myself joyfully and find my joy, which means I'm going to be making a lot of messes and a lot of learning. And I feel nervous about it in front of you. So I want to tell you that so that it can be out in the open and I can just get on with it. That's what I would do. What about you, Tracy?
I loved seeing that there was a post on the Facebook group yesterday, I think it was, of one of the ladies whose husband has joined her on the course and he's painting with her. I think that is great.
I
I
love it
love
when people's kids
Yeah,
do it with them as well,
yeah,
or
yeah,
grandkids.
yeah.
Um, Glenda, I'm not sure your question came out quite right. After I finished my bad paintings, they dried. I actually really liked them, so I tried some more to ruin them. But the more I tried to ruin them, not think about it. So I'm not quite sure that question actually came out properly. I don't know what the question is. Sorry. I really scrolling down. Bad paintings. All three were awful when I did them, but now they are on the floor together. I actually find them quite fun. Why is that? I think we've addressed that. Some of
Yeah.
the questions came in, they've come in while we were talking. So,
Mm.
do you make a slop board? Looking for. Oh, I get that question. So, do you make a slop board? No. Ruth is asking if I have a painting that I would just mix anything on. I do have a kind of version of that, but I'm not going to talk about it because it's a key part of Find Your Joy. So that's a secret. I won't talk about that. Sue says, I seem to have a lot of starts hanging around in my studio that have never reached completion. Does your full course give guidance to help with the completion of projects? Well, yes and no. So there isn't like a step-by-step, obviously, system of how to complete a painting. But what we do in that course, which I'm not going to talk about now because that's for next week, but what or later this week, what we do is go through all of the elements of what makes a good painting no matter what style or way you work. So we look at color and tonal values and composition and all of that, but in a really fun way, just the same way we're doing now. Lots of fun exercises. And so at the end of it, you have a toolkit that you can look at a painting and say, I know now why it's not working, and I can start to figure out what to do to move it forward. So that is the aim. And Kirsten says, what was the name of the guy who was selling the art? I'm sorry, I don't know. And I can't go look it up now. Cannot remember. He was Polish or Romanian or something, Swiss, I think. I think if you look up something like, go on YouTube and look up, sell $200,000 worth of paintings, and you'll find him. He seems to have a lot of videos. He was very interesting what he was saying, and made a lot of sense. Should you limit Faye Miller, should you limit the number of tools to stop things being too chaotic? So today's exercise, Tracy, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but it wasn't an exercise. It was just my demo of using
Your bonus.
limitations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you use limitations?
Yeah, I do. I do. I give myself, especially with play exercises, so I'll give myself either limitations in time, limitations in tools. I haven't done what you did there because I quite like that where you had one tool for you had to make a mark with one tool and then switch it up and then you had so you had, I think 3 or 4 different tools. Um, that's such a good one because otherwise we end up just using the one tool that we always go to. It's like a default tool, and then all the marks all look the same. By
Yeah,
switching up the tools, you actually change up those marks, and then you end up being more playful with it because you're out of your head again. It's
yeah,
back to that whole thing that we started in the beginning. It's getting out of your head and into your hands and into your heart and making your art that way.
yeah. Um, Eleanor's got a great question that a lot of people might have experienced. My problem is approach. I veer from an approach taught by one teacher using an underdrawing to the approach here of experimentation. I would say, Eleanor, there's no contradiction between the two, actually. Like, yes, I'm sure that person worked very differently from me, but you can do both those things. So I'm thinking of an artist, and you're all going to ask me to keep saying it over and over again, but his name is Gabriel Lipper, Lipper, and I'm not saying it again, so you'll have to rewind to the video to find it. And Gabe, he's very beautiful, realistic paintings, but with an element of disruption in them. So there's a bit of abstraction in them, but he's very good at realistic painting. And he will map out a composition with pencil, plan it out. He likes to plan his compositions. Then he'll do a lot of experimental painting on top of that, and then he'll draw back his outline again over his experimental painting, and then he'll start bringing in the realistic figure again over the abstraction. Now, I'm not suggesting that process for you, but what I'm saying is don't close yourself off at the moment to anything. Just try it all. When you're not sure what your approach is, just do it all. And then try all my experimental things. Try, you've tried the mapping out, decide which you enjoy most. Wherever you feel the most joy and enjoyment, stick with that. And over time, we can't think our way to what the answer will be. So you can't think your way to how your art's going to look in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years. You have to paint your way there by experimenting with different approaches until you find the one you love. If you loved his approach and everything I've been saying is not lighting your fire, then you know to just forget me and go back to that. But if you're enjoying this, follow this and then see how you start bringing it together. We do try and jump ahead, don't we?
Oh gosh, we do. We want to run down that corridor and not open any doors along the way. We just want to get to that end door.
Yeah. Oh, somebody's found him, the man on YouTube. His name is Oliver Hojas or Hojas.
Oh,
Oliver Hojas. He's quite young. He's very pleasant looking, so he's not hard to listen to. And he seems really nice and he has lots of creative ideas. But what you do get from it is you have to be willing to be a real salesperson. Like he will actually write to someone who's bought one of his paintings before and say, I have this painting. I think it's going to go on a bonfire. Are you interested before I get rid of it? It's $20,000. And then, and he shows his text chains with people. And then somebody will say, yeah, actually, I've slept on it and I think I want that painting. It's like, I would never, ever in a million years do that. But that's because that's not me. Emily says, I find I am freest when I get angry at the painting and can just attack it. There you go. So you just have to wait till you're really cross before you go paint.
the slasher painter.
Or think about someone that makes you really angry when you go in.
Mm.
Maureen, is it helpful or harmful to change up the medium? I did digital art for years and I want to have a physical attachment. I don't know if it makes sense to work on both or just pick one. Try it and see how it feels. Try it and just see how it feels. Because you don't know until you try. There isn't a right answer. You know, like Tracy said, she does collage, printing, painting. She used to do ceramics. I do collage, drawing, abstract drawing, painting. We always just try, just try and do what you love.
I
Karen,
think
last,
there's elements of everything that knit together, don't they? I mean, if that digital and the painting will come together at some point, maybe
yeah,
as
yes,
well.
you never know how that's going to
Mm,
work until you start
mm.
experimenting.
Mm.
Karen, I work in textiles. How do I adapt the exercises to use textiles or collage, as that is similar to my technique? I'm just thinking of the exercises we've done. I don't see why you couldn't adapt everything we've done so far by adding textiles and collage to your piece. So the bad painting, you just do a bad textile collage. The squares might be a bit harder because well, not really, but you'd have to cut into your textiles when you cut the squares up, the taped off squares. But that's not a problem if you're so you just adapt them, Karen. You just do the instructions with using the materials that you want. Can we get too much instructions? Elizabeth says, can we get too much instructions leading to too many ideas to get confused? Yes, I think this is a real problem, right? I think when you're learning to paint or make art, I think you need to pick someone to follow for a while. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of you decide to change your diet and become healthy, but you listen to all sorts of people. So you cut out carbs, but you're also doing this other thing. And then you think, oh, but I'm supposed to be low fat. So you don't eat things with fat. And before you know it, you're completely screwed up and then you just give up. If you're going to pick some healthy diet, you just have to pick one and then go with it and not muddle up everyone's advice. And God, it's getting really dark outside. I think it's going to be a big rainstorm. And so it's like that. So if you flip between teachers and keep taking courses, whether in person or online, you do get confused. I've had that early on when I was learning from different people. It's like, oh, but he said this and now she said this and now I don't know which one to follow and all the voices get stuck in your head. If you're beginning to feel like that, I think stop doing anything with anyone. Do you think, Tracy?
Yeah, I was just going to say that time. It's very good to pause. It's very good to pause and just listen to yourself, because I still believe that it's like you're like a filter, right? It needs to filter in and it needs to settle a bit for you to then be in a position to say, okay, I'm ready to move forward. And what do I want to now learn? Because I think that's also the other thing is that often we we don't really know what it is we want to learn.
Yeah.
And so we end up taking something. I did that myself. I signed up for a course that I actually didn't need. because I wasn't ready to learn that. She was a good teacher, but I wasn't in the right place for it. I didn't need
Yeah.
to learn it right then. I
I've
might
done that
do,
too. Yeah.
yeah, I might do that in a year's time, but not right now. Um, so yeah, I think listening to yourself, it's back to what we said in the beginning. Listen
Yeah.
to yourself. Your own best, you know what your needs are if you
Yes.
listen.
Yeah.
And
Like
then you'll
I,
find the right teacher. The teacher will find, the teacher and the student find each other
yeah.
when you're ready.
For sure. You know,
Mm,
if you're drawn to someone and you like the way
mm,
they teach and that you like what they're saying, you
mm.
also know if you're, when we have people in the Facebook group occasionally say, I think this is all rubbish and blah, 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 blah. I don't mind that because that person is realizing this isn't for me.
Yeah,
And
it's
you got to
exactly right.
realize, okay, I just don't agree with this. Then go and find someone you do agree with because there's plenty of options. If what you want to learn is how to find your own creative voice, like how to connect with yourself inside and make your own art, I honestly think I'm the best person there is that I know of. There must be other people, but I don't know of anyone. But if you want to learn techniques for watercolor, I'm not your person. If you want to learn how to draw realistically, that's not what my courses are about. You can, parts of it are, but it's not what I'm teaching. So what Tracy says is really get clear on what you want to learn, because I've done that as well. I've signed up for things and then gone, this is actually not what I need. And
Mm,
recently I thought maybe I would like to work with an art mentor to help me through this freedom thing. And then I thought, actually, no, I need to work with somebody I work with on mindset things because it's not a painting thing. So
mm.
I've
Yeah,
I've
you've
clarified.
clarified it. You've
Yeah,
clarified
you
it.
got to get clear on what you actually are looking for.
And I think that's back to that other question that we had earlier about the block of going into the studio, is that if you've got clarity, it drives you forward, doesn't it? It excites you and it makes you want to do something. So I think that that is all parts of that, just having that conversation with ourselves of what
Yeah,
do we want? Because it also takes it away then from the end result. It takes
yeah,
us away from saying we want to get to this point because it brings us back to present, doesn't it? Where
yeah,
we're asking ourselves, what is it for us right now as we stand the here and now? And
yeah,
that's what drives you forward because it's like it's a motion that happens within you.
yeah.
So
One last question that I just want to mention because other people might be worrying about this. I am worried about being overly influenced by my favorite artists. How does one avoid this? Again, in that book by Jerry Saltz, How to Be an Artist, he talks about this and says, don't even think about it. Be influenced by other people because you will find your way through that and out to yours. Every single artist in the world is influenced by other people. I've just been planning lessons for Find Your Joy, and I've got one taking the story of various very famous artists like Van Gogh and Picasso and people like that, and who they were influenced by and where they took their ideas. And I discovered in my research an artist, and I can't remember his name now, but it's in the video I've made, who influenced Van Gogh. And it's quite shocking when you see Van Gogh actually said to his brother, I think I'm continuing the work of whatever this man's name is. And there's some of his paintings where the marks, the paint, the thick paint application is exactly what Van Gogh was doing. So we think of him as this great innovator, and actually he had his influences. So I think when we're beginning, when I first started, I spent a lot of time copying paintings I liked. Not if you do that, you can't sell them and you can't show them as yours, but doing it to figure out, okay, what are they doing here? And understanding when I try to do it like them. Brian Rutenberg says when you try and copy other people, which he encourages too, your mistakes are your style coming through. So the things you can't do like them, that's you coming out. So don't even worry about it. You can be influenced, you can copy on the way to finding your own way, and you will find your own way. And I actually teach this, how to take other people's art and use something from it to move your own artwork forward. Beth says Jerry Saltz's book is a gem. I look at a few pages every day to anchor my mindset. Honestly, I think he's a genius. He's a bit rough. He's a New Yorker, so he doesn't mince his words. And every now and then he says, just shut up, you big babies, and go paint. And it's like, I remind myself of it all the time. When I was about to attack this painting for the demo, I went, shut up, you big baby. Just do it. Stop being a big baby. Okay, I'm sorry, we've missed a few questions, but we have gone on way too long because it's now 7:15, and I'm sure Tracy's got things she's got to do with her life. And I'm sure you've all got things you've got to do with your life. And I want to eat my dinner. So thank you very much, Tracy. I've
Oh,
really
thank you,
enjoyed having
Louise.
you on here. I know everyone's enjoyed meeting you. If you later, later after all this is over, you will get an opportunity if you want to come and join Art Tribe and at a special price. And so you'll get to know Tracy more if you take us up on that. If you carry on the full course, you'll get that same chance, but after the full
Okay.
course, because it's too
Mhm.
much to do. It's too much altogether. So anyway, that is all coming up for now. Tomorrow we've got another painting exercise for you. I know I'm bombarding you with a lot of stuff, and I'm so impressed that you're keeping up and doing all this work. It's way too much, really, in 10 days, but I just wanted to give you lots to take away with you because you can do these things over and over again. So that's coming up tomorrow, and then we'll have another call the day after. All right, take care, everybody. Thank you all so much for everything you're doing, and thank